Man, oh man, it's going to be hard not to get very angry during this episode, but I'm really curious what you guys think about this. Some news over this past weekend that I just really wanted to address out there because I've been covering it step by step over the past few months, that being formerly SKT T1, now T1 Esports, and their fans taking things just a bit too far. Now, I'm sure it's not a lot of you guys watching, a very minute few of them now choosing to do things that have just been pretty bad over the course of the past few months. We got death threats, T1 saying, hey, if you keep this up, we'll actually threaten legal action against you. We got funeral flowers being sent to their HQ. We got a van being rented to go around Seoul, driving through Korea to promote messages about, you know, the doubts of the esports organization that these fans hold. And now probably the one thing that is really pushed past. Obviously, we've talked a lot about death threats in esports towards players and coaches and staff and family, and that's ridiculous in itself. I would say this is even one step further than that, targeting Ellis's very own grandmother. It has now been put out there by players and figures of the League of Legends scene that a minute few, but at least one and maybe a few people out there are now issuing threats and doxes against the supposed rumored coach, that being Ellis, to join the T1 organization. An historic change for the scene, and it would be a gigantic move. Now people are choosing to actually pursue his own grandmother, and I'm gonna hold myself back. You guys know me, I don't cuss. I won't, you know, give into that kind of thing. But man, if you are those people and you are watching this, you got a whole nother different level of messed up kind of thing up here. If you threaten someone's own grandmother over a video game roster change.
Now, I was in a call with Ellis. This is a really bad spot. Apparently his grandmother is being harassed and stuff like this. And people are trying to do really bad things to him. And yeah, he told me I can say this, else I wouldn't say it, just so people don't freak out that I'm leaking something. I didn't wanna also say anything because people can lip read if I say something that I shouldn't say.
As IWD took to Twitter to say, the doxing harassment of Ellis's grandma is just sickening, to be honest. Having to be on calls trying to plan out what to do if someone mails her something harmful or comes to her house to try and harm her in person is surreal. How can video games make anyone do this? And even Nemesis, apparently in this same call as well, has confirmed this is actually a thing. And it's truly sickening. I hope it's not you guys watching, and I'm sure it's not. But just think about that for a second, how messed up you gotta be to reach this kind of level. And I'm gonna try my best to move on to our second story, but LS, if you are somehow watching, man, I don't have the mental fortitude that you have to deal with this kind of stuff. I cannot imagine what you are going through, and of course, hopes and prayers out to you and your family through this. I mean, who would have guessed that this kind of thing possibly could have even been in the realm of possibilities when making a roster move like this? It's just, it's utter insanity is what it frankly is. Now, speaking of utter insanity, my boy HenryG, we have long talked about Cloud9, the Colossus, and their brand new CSGO roster, setting a new standard for the industry of esports in total, not just Counter-Strike, of revealing player salaries. It was actually in a Flashpoint interview with Freya. If you guys want to check out the full thing, it was a great piece as well, where Henry actually clarifies exactly why Cloud9 is now revealing player salaries, which I really do. I like where he's coming from, and we still have yet to see, you know, a dominant movement. Yes, it has been started. Will other organizations actually follow suit? We'll find out sometime in the future.
That's awesome. You kind of touched on it there as well with the contracts, and obviously, you know, you've been doing something quite groundbreaking in the industry with announcing the value of these players and how much you've paid out for them, like what their salaries are going to look like. Why is that something that's so important to you? Because we just don't see other sort of organizations, teams really doing it. Why was that so integral for you for this team?
I think it's just the next step. I feel like we're kind of spinning our wheels, and it just doesn't make any sense to me why we're not releasing this information. Like, if you're investing the amount of money I know teams are in towards CSGO, I feel like that should be a celebration. That should be something you should be kind of telling everyone about. She said, like, this is how much we believe in CSGO, this is how much we believe in this player, this is how much we're investing in this squad, and showing our commitment to the game in general. there's a good reason a lot of other orgs don't want to announce their salaries or their buyouts. It's either because they paid way too much and it's been bad business, or they're paying their players way too little and they don't want anyone to know that they actually got a couple of raw deals on the table for their players, which is understandable. Like, CSGO is a cutthroat game, and I understand that not every organization has the same budget as Cloud9. We're very wealthy in that sense, and we have a lot more resources than other organizations. But at the same time, if you want a stable, world-class talent, you should be paying them the correct amount. That's the way I look at it.
And certainly a lot of that does make sense, right? I think all of us can think of a big buyout or probably a big salary being played to a gigantic player who is underperforming. Organizations may be scared to share that information because it makes you look all the more the worst, right? And especially if you get a steal on a player and maybe that player is unaware of how much of a steal he was, right? If he's overperforming and being underpaid, organizations also probably don't want to face that flack for getting a year or two of a lower salary for a player who maybe deserves more. So it makes a lot of sense as to why people fall on both sides of the table, especially when it comes to CEOs and owners and the people that actually have to pay these rosters. I certainly can understand why people do fall on both sides of the argument, but I think a lot of us would agree it'd be very interesting at the very least to see other organizations reveal their salaries. Last second thing as well, I believe I talked about this maybe 6, 7, 8 months ago as well. Vitality CEO has came out and said very similar things, but he was been awaiting other esports orgs to really take off and do it before he reveals his salaries, because there can be advantages had if you know what teams are paying and you don't have to reveal your own. So certainly a lot of arguments, a lot of stringence when it comes to that, but always enjoy seeing Cloud9 HenryG talk about exactly why Cloud9 is now revealing player salaries. Will they do it for everyone across all of their teams? Cloud9, that's the next step. All right, until next time, you guys know what to do. All right, take a sip for me, drink that wah, drink that ka. I'll see you back here sometime soon. Take care.